Hi friends, welcome back to Cat Things, and I'm really excited to see you again. It's been a while. I've been taking a bit of a break, and then there was a few colds that we were going through, but anyhow, we are back in the game, and today we're going to talk about the process of getting a car in the Netherlands. Before we get started, I want to mention that the point of this video is not to convince you to get a car or to convince you not to get a car. The point of this video is to provide you with the details and hopefully helpful information shall you decide to go for buying a car in the Netherlands. I know there will be comments that say things like you don't need a car in the Netherlands, you can bike everywhere, you can use a train or public transport, and I'm not going to argue these points. I'm just going to try to provide as much information as possible for you so that it's useful if you decide to buy a car. So let's jump in straight away. The first thing that you need to know before you go to either buy a car or lease a car or buy a used car, a new car, before you get into all the purchasing details, is that you must have a Dutch driver's license. Because when you go to purchase a car or to lease a car, this is the first thing that you're going to be asked for. So there's a few options for you. If you have a driver's license from a different country and you moved to the Netherlands, some countries allow it to be exchanged. For instance, we can exchange it from Canada if you are from specific Canadian provinces, not all. Then you can exchange it from some European countries, and also you can exchange it if you have a 30% ruling, which means that you were recruited by a Dutch company and you came here as a highly skilled immigrant. So keep in mind that this is the first thing you have to do before you even think about getting a car. What I recommend there is going to RDV website, which is a Dutch road kind of inspection authority website where you can find all the information about either obtaining or exchanging your driver's license. I can't speak about obtaining Dutch driver's license. I can say that exchanging it could take somewhere between 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the waiting times and depending what kind of documentation you have or you need. Then once you have your driver's license, it's time to start looking for a car. The first thing you would probably want to decide if you want to buy a car or lease a car. At first I'm going to speak about buying a car, and then we're going to talk about leasing and financing and things like that. So the first part, if you want to buy a new car or a used car, there's advantages to both. Obviously, when you buy a new car, it's completely new and then nobody ever drove it, so you know it's in a great condition. When you buy a used car, these are usually cheaper. Some things to keep in mind. For January 2023, as I'm speaking to you, we went to several dealerships, and one thing to keep in mind is that the waiting times for new cars in most dealerships are starting from 6 months to a year. If it is an electric or hybrid car, that can take even longer time. So at the moment, the market for buying new cars looks pretty tight, as I've heard in many countries, so keep that in mind. Then obviously they have some stock, but usually it is the cars that are either luxury or like more premium version of a car. So these are usually the ones they have in stock, so they are obviously more expensive. To give you an example, when we went to Volkswagen and we asked for a Model T Rock, usually the base price is around 35,000 euro, and the only one in stock they have available is the one that we cost about 46,000 euro, which is like, it had all the most advanced options, and you can't remove these options or add options because that's the only thing you have in stock if you want a new car. If you want to modify anything in that car, you would have to wait for up to a year. And that's the situation we saw in many different dealerships. There were some, like Kia, for example, that had some stock available. So generally go ask the dealerships, but keep in mind that the waiting times could be longer. Another thing to mention is that in the Netherlands there is a tax that is called BMP, and that is a tax that you pay when you buy a new car. So if you generally look at the stats around the car costs around European countries, you will notice that Netherlands has one of the most expensive car prices around Europe, and that is because of the BMP tax. BMP tax is determined on how much the car is polluting the environment, as well there's part of the weight of the car. Anyhow, you can, whenever you go to a dealership, you will see the price, the base of the car, and then the BMP tax that you would pay on it. And often, if the car is, for example, gasoline, the tax can go up to 40% of the price of the car. So, to give you an example, if your car is $10,000, you would pay $4,000 in a BMP tax, which would make it $14,000 or euros. For that matter, this is why the new cars are really expensive in the Netherlands. If you buy a used car, you don't pay BMP tax anymore because you're not the first owner of the car. So that's to keep in mind when you go in the store and when you wonder why these cars are more expensive compared to other countries, it's because of that tax. So now if we would look into buying a used car, one thing to keep in mind is that you don't pay BMP tax, which is already great, so the initial purchase tax. And then something that you can also check out is that a lot of dealerships sell the cars that they used as a demo car. For example, Volkswagen, if they had a demo car of one of the models, they were officially the first owner of that car, so you already wouldn't pay on BMP tax, but that car would have very little kilometers on it and it would be practically new because it wasn't basically used. Most of them are last year models, but they are usually first much cheaper and then they're practically a new car. So this is something that you can check out if you're looking for a used car. Another option for buying a used car is that you can buy it from a dealer that sells compilation of different cars. So for example, in the Netherlands there's a site binco.com. This is online service, so you would look at the car online, they would deliver it to you, you can try it out for 2 weeks, and then if you like it, you complete the payment, and if you don't, you can return the car. So that's one of the options. Another option is that you can also go to like Lauman, which is another big dealer across Netherlands, and also try out the cars there and look at different models that are present or available. One thing to keep in mind, and that what we learn compared to like North America, that the best thing to do is to try to book your test drive in advance, because when you come there, they might not first of all have the car ready for you to test drive if you buy a used car, and if it's a new car, they might not have that specific model in stock to be able to test drive it. So keep that in mind. I would definitely recommend booking a test drive in advance if you really want to save some time. Another 2 really important things about buying the car. If it's a used car, usually it already comes with a license plate, so you can put that license plate on a website online. There's a website that allows you to check all the history of the car, whether it was in an accident, whether it was imported, what kind of tax you're gonna pay on it. So basically everything about that car would be on that website. I'm gonna link it down in the description box so that you can use it. And that is great because you can see basically how many owners it had, basically everything about the car. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And another thing to keep in mind is that in the Netherlands you pay monthly tax on using your car. So for example, this tax is determined by emissions and then the weight of the car. And let's say if you have a gasoline car, the tax will be higher, and then if you have electric or hybrid car, that's going to be cheaper. Also, the price will depend in which Dutch province you live. So in some Dutch provinces the tax would be higher, like in South Holland where we live. In some Dutch provinces it would be lower. And again, you can really check in advance what will be the tax that you're going to pay if you have the license plate of the car. Another important thing to keep in mind about purchasing a car is that you're going to have to pay monthly insurance for the car. If you're buying either a new or used car, this is something you have to arrange on your own. Again, the price will depend on how many years you have been driving claim-free. Obviously, when you're a new immigrant to the Netherlands, you don't have any driving history here, so you're probably going to have to be paying the highest amount at the beginning, and then as the years go by it's going to go down. I've seen some insurance companies that allow you to use some kind of letter or extract from your insurance abroad. So let's say if I go to my insurance company in Canada and I say, could you give me proof that I didn't claim any damages on the car in the years that I have been driving, I can bring it to some insurance companies here and they would count half of the years that I've been driving, or like some amount of it, towards my insurance price, so that would make my insurance price lower. Okay, so now we've talked about buying a car, and now we can talk a bit about leasing a car. So leasing a car is going to be a little bit different from buying a car. When you lease a car, most dealerships lease new cars, but some of them also lease used cars. So you would have to inform yourself based on the dealership that you have. Then when you lease a car, you just pay one amount to a dealership every month, and that includes insurance, road tax, basically everything except gas. So you don't have to take care of any kind of details related to insuring your car, figuring out how to pay tax, where to pay tax. You basically only need to put gas in your car and you can drive it, and then the dealership also would do servicing, insurance, basically everything. That's included in the final amount. Now, some things that might be different, for example, in North America, when you lease a car, at the end, let's say the car costs $40,000 and you have paid $20,000 as a part of your lease for 4 years, you can buy out the car and keep it for a remaining $20,000. Then now in the Netherlands, this is not something that is possible. So let's say if your car costs here 40,000 euro and you pay 20,000, it would go back to the dealership. You can't buy it out for the remaining 20,000. You can buy it after you return it to a dealership for the market price. So if the market price at that moment is lower, like 15,000, you can buy it for 15,000, but if it's higher, let's say 30,000, then you would have to buy it for 30,000. So that's something to keep in mind when you're leasing a car in the Netherlands. Another thing, as of January 2023, and I'm recording this video, based on the information that we have as we went to different dealerships, right now the stock is very low. So the wait time for leasing a car or the model of your choice, a new car, again, can be up to 6 months or a year. So keep that in mind if you're deciding now, or if you're deciding in the future, that in the nearest year there's the huge delays and huge waiting times. Another catch is that if you're a high-skilled worker, and let's say you have a visa for 1 year and then they're gonna extend it for like 5 years after, or there's like first you have to have a short-term permit and then it's gonna get longer, is that you can't get a lease if you have a short-term residence permit. So keep in mind that on your residence permit you have to have the time that is longer than your lease. This is at least at the dealership that we have been to. I've read online that some people managed to get a lease even though their residence permit was shorter. But we tried at the bank and then we tried at a few different places, and essentially it has been told to us that you have to have a residence permit that's going to be longer than your lease. Similarly, if you are to finance your car, you need to have, and you're financing it for 4 years, your residence permit must be 4 years. Also, as of January 2023, the financing percentage that you would pay on the money that you borrow right now is about from 6% we have seen at the bank, and then we have seen up to 8% or 9% at some dealerships. So keep that in mind when you decide to finance your car. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I really enjoyed chatting with you. I hope this information will be really useful if you're deciding to buy a car and will prepare you for the purchasing process. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below and I will try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!